Welcome to Forgotten Civilization, where the echoes of the past reveal the mysteries that shaped our world. Here we journey deep into the lost corners of human history, across deserts, jungles, and forgotten valleys, to uncover the civilizations that time tried to erase. Subscribe and join us as we unlock the secrets that lie beneath the soil and the stars. In the heart of the American Midwest, surrounded by forests and rolling hills, lies one of the strangest and most awe-inspiring monuments ever discovered in North America, a vast earthen serpent, coiled across the land like it was etched by the hands of the gods themselves. Nearly 1,400 feet long, perfectly shaped and aligned with the heavens, the Great Serpent Mound of Ohio remains one of the most enigmatic creations of the ancient world. Some believe it was a sacred calendar, a marker of celestial events like solstices and eclipses. Others insist it was a spiritual site, a place where energy from the Earth's magnetic fields surged upward, connecting sky and soil. And then there are those who claim it's a cosmic message, evidence of contact between humanity and something beyond. The discovery and first theories. The story of the Serpent Mound begins not with its creation, but with its rediscovery. For centuries, the land near the Brush Creek Valley in Ohio appeared ordinary. Gentle hills, scattered forests, and fertile soil. But in 1846, a pair of surveyors named Ephraim Squire and Edwin Davis stumbled upon something extraordinary. A massive earthen effigy shaped unmistakably like a serpent, coiled in a graceful S shape, its tail spiraling tightly and its head stretching toward a cliff overlooking the valley. The sight must have been breathtaking. From the ground, it was difficult to perceive the full scale of what they were seeing. But from above, the form became unmistakable. A serpent with an open mouth, appearing to swallow or cradle an egg-like mound. The discovery soon captured the attention of scholars, spiritualists, and mystery seekers alike. Squire and Davis published their findings in Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley, 1848. One of the first works of American archaeology. But even they could not answer the most basic questions. Who built it? When was it built? And why would anyone create such an immense figure from Earth? A figure that could only truly be appreciated from the sky. At first, many assumed it was the work of the Adena culture, an ancient mound-building people who lived in the region around 1000 BCE. But later excavations and radiocarbon dating would complicate that theory. Some evidence suggested it might be much younger, perhaps constructed around 1070 CE by the Fort Ancient culture, descendants of the Adena or Hopewell peoples. Yet even this explanation didn't fully satisfy researchers. Why? Because no other known Fort Ancient sites featured effigy mounds of this scale or precision. The Serpent Mound stood alone, unmatched in purpose and artistry. As archaeology progressed, the questions only deepened. Early excavations revealed no burials within the main body of the serpent, ruling out the theory that it was a simple burial mound. Instead, it seemed to serve a symbolic or ceremonial purpose. The alignment of the serpent's curves and its head with solar and lunar events hinted that its builders were keen observers of the heavens, perhaps even astronomers of extraordinary skill. But beyond science, there was something spiritual about this place. Local Native American tribes, such as the Shawnee, had long regarded the serpent as a powerful symbol, a guardian, a representation of life, death, and renewal. In many indigenous traditions, the serpent is a being that connects earth and sky, embodying both danger and creation. Could it be that the builders of the Serpent Mound intended to capture this duality, the eternal dance of destruction and rebirth? As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, the Serpent Mound began to attract new kinds of visitors. Not just archaeologists, but spiritual seekers and mystics who believed the mound was far more than a relic of ancient engineering. They claimed it was a source of natural energy, an intersection of the Earth's magnetic lines, or ley lines, that amplified psychic and spiritual power. Theories swirled that the Serpent Mound was not merely a temple, but a cosmic instrument designed to channel and focus energy from the Earth into the heavens. Scientists were skeptical, of course, yet curiously, modern measurements have shown that the area does exhibit unusual magnetic anomalies. Compasses behave oddly near the site, and the ground's mineral composition seems to reflect strange variations in magnetic intensity. Coincidence or design? The debate continues to this day. From an academic standpoint, the Serpent Mound stands as one of the greatest achievements of prehistoric North America, a symbol of complex thought, advanced geometry, and spiritual purpose. But from a human standpoint, it is something even greater, a message carved in earth, meant to endure the ages. The serpent gazes eternally toward the horizon, its egg-like feature perfectly aligned with the summer solstice sunset, while its coils correspond to lunar standstills, the most distant points in the moon's 18.6-year cycle. Whoever built this monument, they did so with a profound understanding of both cosmic cycles and earthly patterns. And so, the question lingers. What did the builders hope to communicate through this colossal serpent of soil and stone? Were they celebrating fertility and rebirth, tracking the movements of celestial bodies, or reaching out across time and space to something beyond human comprehension? As we continue deeper into the mystery, we'll explore how the Serpent Mound reflects not only the ingenuity of ancient America, but perhaps a forgotten wisdom, one that saw the world not as separate realms of heaven and earth, but as one living, breathing continuum. The serpent lies silent now, a sleeping guardian, its vast body made of layers of soil, clay, and stone. Yet thousands of years ago, this place would have been alive with human hands, chants, and firelight. Imagine it, a community gathering beneath the stars, shaping the earth into something that mirrored the heavens. But who were these builders who tamed the landscape itself? And how did they know the patterns of the sun and moon so precisely? Archaeologists have long debated the identity of the serpent's creators. The earliest theory credited the Adena culture, one of the first mound-building societies in North America, flourishing between 1000 and 200 BCE. Their burial mounds dot the Ohio Valley, simple, round, and dignified. They honored their dead with care, used red ochre, and left behind intricate stone tools and pipes carved with animal effigies. Could the Serpent Mound be one of their masterpieces, a symbolic gesture to the spirit world? Then came evidence that complicated everything. Radiocarbon samples taken from charcoal deep beneath the mound dated not to 1000 BCE, but to around 1070 CE, nearly a millennium later. That pushed the likely builders into the era of the Fort Ancient culture, a people known for their hilltop villages, pottery, and extensive trade networks. But here's the mystery. No other Fort Ancient site features anything like the Serpent Mound. They were farmers, not astronomers. They lived ordinary lives, not ones dedicated to the stars. So, was the Serpent Mound a continuation of older sacred traditions, a monument rebuilt and maintained across centuries by different peoples, each one honoring something they no longer fully understood? Many archaeologists believe so. The site may have been sacred to generations before the Fort Ancient people even arrived. Its meaning could have evolved, from a serpent deity to a cosmic calendar to an energy center tied to the cycles of life and death. When scientists began mapping the serpent's shape against the sky, a stunning discovery emerged. The serpent's head aligns perfectly with the setting sun on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, when the sun reaches its highest power before beginning its slow descent. Each curve along its body, researchers found, corresponds to significant lunar events, particularly the lunar standstills, when the moon's rising and setting points reach their northernmost and southernmost extremes in an 18.6-year cycle. In other words, this wasn't just art. It was astronomy, written in soil. Imagine ancient people standing atop this hill over 1,000 years ago, tracking the sky with the patience of generations. They didn't have telescopes or compasses, but they watched, measured, and remembered. Every solstice and equinox, every full moon and eclipse. Over lifetimes, they etched those movements into the land itself, a giant celestial clock built from the earth. But why a serpent? Across nearly every culture on earth, the serpent has symbolized transformation, power, and the eternal cycle of life and death. In Mesoamerican mythology, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, was a god of creation and knowledge, a Among Native American traditions, the serpent often represented fertility, water, and the underworld, the life-giving force beneath the surface. Here in Ohio, that symbolism might have merged with celestial knowledge. The serpent, coiled, ever-moving, shedding its skin, could represent the renewal of the cosmos. The egg in its mouth may not just symbolize creation, but the sun itself, reborn each morning from the horizon. The message is subtle, poetic, and deeply spiritual. The world dies and is reborn in endless cycles, just as the serpent renews its skin and the sun returns after darkness. Some researchers see an even deeper layer. Around 1070 CE, the date linked to the Serpent Mound's construction, a spectacular astronomical event occurred. Halley's Comet streaked across the night sky. Ancient people across the world witnessed it, a brilliant fiery serpent gliding through the heavens. Could the mound have been built in tribute to this cosmic visitor? Was it a monument to the sky serpent itself, immortalized on Earth? But there's another mystery. How did they achieve such precision in the first place? The serpent's curves aren't random. They follow a geometric pattern consistent with sophisticated surveying techniques. The builders used careful measurement, likely pacing, rope grids, and sight lines marked by poles or stones. Without metal tools or written records, they designed a monument that still baffles modern engineers for its accuracy. And beneath the serpent, scientists discovered an ancient astrogeological anomaly, a massive crypto-explosion structure, meaning the ground itself was formed by a prehistoric meteor impact millions of years ago. The land under the Serpent Mound is literally different from its surroundings, a basin of shattered bedrock and unique minerals. Was this coincidence, or did the builders choose this spot because they sensed something special about it? To ancient minds, such a place would have radiated power, the scar of a celestial strike, a place where the heavens once touched the earth. Perhaps they believed it was sacred, or that it still carried the energy of the stars. And maybe they were right. Even today, visitors describe the Serpent Mound as alive. Sensitive instruments record minor magnetic variations along its coils. Compasses twitch unpredictably. Some people say they can feel a subtle vibration beneath their feet, a pulsing rhythm, as if the serpent still breathes beneath the grass. Whether that's science or spirit is up for debate. But one thing is certain. The builders of the Serpent Mound chose their location with purpose. They designed it with precision, aligned it with the heavens, and imbued it with a meaning that transcended their own time. In this silent hilltop in southern Ohio, earth and sky met in a dialogue older than history. The people who built this monument left no written language, no grand temples, no golden idols. Yet their message endures, etched in the soil, written in the stars, and whispered through the centuries, that life and death, heaven and earth, are one. The serpent's body traces not just a path across the land, but across time itself, coiling through centuries, linking us to those ancient dreamers who once looked up at the same sky and saw more than stars. They saw meaning. The energy theories and cosmic alignments. The Serpent Mound has always been more than soil and stone. For generations it has pulsed with questions, myths, and magnetism, a riddle buried in the earth. Science has studied its age, archaeologists have debated its builders, but there's another layer, one that modern instruments and ancient intuition both seem to sense: energy. To the casual eye, it's simply a mound. But step onto the serpent's back and something changes. The air feels thicker, heavier. The sounds of the forest grow distant, almost muffled. Some visitors report a sensation like static under the skin. Compasses spin, metal detectors hum. And beneath it all, deep underground, lies something even stranger. A prehistoric impact crater, the remnant of a meteor that struck this very land millions of years ago. The crater, roughly 5 miles wide, shattered the bedrock of southern Ohio, fusing minerals and altering the planet's magnetic field in subtle but measurable ways. Geologists call it the Serpent Mound crypto-explosion structure, a tongue twister that hides an astonishing fact. The entire monument sits atop the scar of a cosmic collision. Could this have been coincidence? Or did ancient people somehow sense this? It may sound far-fetched, But many ancient cultures were drawn to places of unusual energy. The pyramids of Egypt align with zones of telluric current. The stones of Stonehenge stand on geomagnetic lines. The temples of the Maya rest upon cenotes, gateways to the underworld. Across time, humanity has always gravitated to the Earth's power points, places where heaven and ground seem to hum together. Modern researchers with magnetometers have recorded geomagnetic anomalies at Serpent Mound, subtle, repeating patterns that vary along the length of the serpent's body. The readings spike near the head and tail, forming what some describe as a wave, almost as if the mound itself is channeling an unseen current. Could this be why the builders chose this exact ridge? The mound isn't just shaped like a serpent. It follows the natural curvature of the hill, as if sculpted to flow with the land's energy. Indigenous wisdom has long spoken of the Earth's lifeblood, energy flowing through ley lines, rivers, and ridges. To those ancient architects, the serpent may not have been just a symbol, but a representation of the Earth's pulse itself, the living, breathing current beneath all things. Some researchers, like Dr. Ross Hamilton, have gone further, proposing that the Serpent Mound may have functioned as a harmonic structure, a sort of ancient antenna tuned to cosmic frequencies. According to this theory, the mound's proportions match harmonic ratios found in nature, from the Fibonacci sequence to the oscillation cycles of celestial bodies. In essence, the serpent wasn't just built to represent energy, it was built to resonate with it. But what could this mean? When astronomers charted the serpent's alignments, they found precision beyond coincidence. The head points to the summer solstice sunset, while the coils mark the winter solstice sunrise and key lunar standstills. The builders, whoever they were, tracked celestial cycles that take nearly 2 decades to complete, an achievement requiring generations of observation and meticulous record-keeping. The serpent, then, becomes not only a calendar but a bridge, connecting the rhythm of the heavens with the pulse of the earth below. It is where cosmic time meets terrestrial space, written in the language of soil and shadow. To the ancients, energy and spirit were inseparable. The serpent was both guardian and teacher, the link between the material and the divine. Some modern visitors describe Serpent Mound as a place of meditation and awakening. Standing atop its coils during sunset, they claim to feel alignment, a balance between body and earth, heartbeat and horizon. Skeptics dismiss this as imagination, the brain reacting to landscape and suggestion. Yet even science concedes that certain geological formations, like those rich in quartz and magnetite, can subtly affect electromagnetic fields. The Serpent Mound region contains both. And just as quartz vibrates within modern watches, converting energy into measurable rhythm, perhaps these ancient people, without knowing it, tapped into something similar, a resonance between stone, soil, and spirit. Imagine the builders standing here, torches flickering, aligning their markers with the setting sun. Each shovel of earth laid not for kings or gods, but for balance, to mirror the harmony of the cosmos. They didn't separate science from spirituality. Both were one and the same. To them, the serpent wasn't superstition. It was knowledge, encoded in form. In the 1980s, dowsers, people who claimed to sense underground energy, walked the Serpent Mound with rods and pendulums. Nearly all reported identical findings: a spiraling energy flow moving from tail to head, culminating at the oval feature, the egg, or sun, the serpent seems to swallow. Some claim to feel warmth there, even faint vibration. Science can't prove this. But perhaps that's not the point. What matters is that across thousands of years, people continue to feel something here. A sense that this mound is alive, that it hums with memory. Whether through magnetic field or mythic energy, the serpent's presence commands attention. And maybe that's the true mystery. Not whether the mound emits measurable energy, but that it continues to evoke it in us. To stand here is to feel connected to something vast, unseen, older than history itself. The Serpent Mound then becomes more than an archaeological site. It is a conversation between humanity and nature, between earth and cosmos, between the ancient and the now. Each alignment, each curve, Each handful of soil speaks to an understanding we've almost forgotten, that the world around us is alive, and that energy, in all its forms, flows through every living thing. The lost knowledge, myths, science, and theories of origin. The Serpent Mound may twist silently across the Ohio hills, but its story refuses to stay buried. Beneath every layer of earth lies another question: who built it, and why? Over the past 2 centuries, archaeologists, historians, and dreamers have wrestled with that mystery, each uncovering clues, yet none finding the complete truth. When the first settlers discovered the mound in the 1800s, they were stunned. How could people without metal tools or beasts of burden create a monument stretching over 1,300 feet with perfect symmetry and alignment to the cosmos? The question reflected a deeper bias, an unwillingness to believe that indigenous people of North America could have achieved such engineering and astronomical sophistication. Early scholars instead attributed it to a lost race, sometimes called the Mound Builders, a civilization thought to have vanished long before Native American tribes emerged. For decades, these myths flourished. Stories of ancient Atlanteans, wandering Celts, or even extraterrestrials who supposedly guided early humans. Yet as science advanced, those romantic notions began to fade. Carbon dating, ground-penetrating radar, and modern archaeology all pointed toward a simpler truth. The mound was the work of indigenous genius, not a lost world. Still, the question of which culture remains a puzzle. Some evidence connects the Serpent Mound to the Adena culture, active around 1000 BCE. Artifacts found nearby, distinctive pottery, tools, and burial mounds suggest Adena influence, but newer studies propose a different timeline, linking it to the Fort Ancient culture, nearly 2,500 years later. So which is it? Did the Adena first design it and later peoples rebuild it? Or did the Fort Ancient civilization inherit the site, reinterpreting it through their own cosmic lens? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between, the mound evolving over generations, refined by those who came after, each adding a layer of meaning to its eternal form. Each handful of soil tells a story, different textures, different sources. Scientists have discovered that the Serpent Mound wasn't built all at once, but in deliberate stages. Layers of clay and ash show signs of renewal, like a ritual repeated through time. It wasn't a monument for kings or gods, but for continuity, an ever-living dialogue between people, planet, and sky. But perhaps the greatest question isn't who built it, but what they believed. Across Native American traditions, the serpent is not a symbol of evil, but of life, transformation, and renewal. It represents the endless cycle, shedding skin to be reborn. Among the Shawnee, the serpent guarded water and the underworld. Among the Hopi, it symbolized fertility and rain. To the Cherokee, it was the bridge between worlds, moving between above and below, life and death, dream and waking. Could the mound then have been a sacred site to honor this cosmic creature, the guardian of balance and renewal? Its position near water sources, its precise orientation to solar and lunar events, and its flowing, almost breathing design all suggest a ritual landscape, one where earth and cosmos intertwined through ceremony. In the early 20th century, local native elders described the mound as a place of teaching and remembrance, not just of ancestors, but of the earth's rhythms. They spoke of the serpent as a reminder that all life moves in cycles, the river winding, the moon returning, the sun reborn each solstice. For them, Serpent Mound wasn't superstition. It was science expressed in sacred form. In recent decades, archaeology has shifted. Where once the voices of native descendants were ignored, they are now being invited to interpret their heritage. Their oral histories, when compared with scientific data, reveal astonishing overlaps, stories of sky fires, floods, and migrations that correspond with geological and astronomical events. It is as if memory itself was encoded into myth. But the serpent's mystery persists because it sits on the boundary of two worlds, one we can measure and one we can only feel. The modern mind seeks data, coordinates, carbon isotopes. The ancient one sought balance, harmony, spirit. The mound unites both. It is where mathematics meets mythology. There's another theory, whispered among those who study the mound's alignments. Some believe the Serpent Mound was not only a calendar but a warning, a message written in soil about cosmic cycles and catastrophes. The serpent's head, some claim, marks the path of a comet or asteroid, perhaps even the very one that scarred the land millions of years before. Could it be that the builders recorded in earth what they saw in the sky, the fire of destruction turned into the symbol of renewal? It's poetic, but not impossible. Many ancient cultures wove their astronomical knowledge with myth. The Maya saw the serpent as the Milky Way itself, a celestial river of light coiling across the heavens. The Egyptians associated it with cyclical rebirth, as the god Apophis swallowed and released the sun each night and morning. To the builders of Serpent Mound, perhaps this symbol meant something universal, that destruction and creation are two sides of the same cosmic force. In the end, the mound remains a reflection of humanity itself, forever reaching for the sky, yet grounded in the earth. Science may one day map every grain of soil, measure every alignment, and still, the deeper truth will escape, because the Serpent Mound wasn't built to be explained, it was built to be felt. And maybe that's what makes it timeless. When you stand on that ridge looking out over the Ohio horizon, the serpent seems to move with the light, its body alive in shadow and sun. In that moment, time collapses. You are both observer and participant, both modern and ancient. The mystery isn't out there, it's within, in the part of us that still looks to the stars and wonders what our ancestors knew that we have forgotten. Legacy and preservation. Why the serpent still matters. Time moves forward, but the Serpent Mound never sleeps. Its silent curves have watched civilizations rise and fall. Forests grow and vanish. Rivers carve new paths through the land. For 1,000 years or more, this earthen serpent has endured. Not through conquest or monuments of stone, but through patience, through balance, through the wisdom of the earth itself. Every culture leaves behind its voice. The pyramids shout, the temples sing. But the Serpent Mound whispers. It speaks not in words, but in alignment, in the way its body mirrors the stars, in the way it hums beneath the souls of those who walk its path. It is a conversation between heaven and soil, between what is seen and what is sensed. For many native peoples, this land is still sacred. It is not a ruin, it is a relative. It carries stories of connection, to ancestors, to elements, to the cycles that govern all life. The serpent, for them, was never just an emblem of mystery. It was a living spirit, a reminder that power flows through all things when balance is kept. Today, archaeologists, historians, and indigenous leaders work side by side to protect this fragile monument. The Serpent Mound is now a UNESCO World Heritage candidate, a recognition that this site, nestled quietly in the hills of Ohio, belongs not only to America, but to humanity itself. Because here, in this place, is proof that even without machines or metal, ancient people mastered something greater, harmony. Preserving the mound isn't just about saving an ancient site. It's about saving what it stands for, the understanding that we are all part of a larger design. That knowledge, science, spirituality, and nature are not separate forces, but threads of the same cosmic pattern. The Serpent Mound is that pattern drawn in earth, an ancient equation that still balances itself against the sun and stars. It reminds us that the people who came before weren't primitive. They were observant, poetic, precise. They understood the sky not as data, but as destiny. They didn't just look upward for answers. They built them into the land. Every solstice, when the sun aligns once more with the serpent's head, the world stands still, for just a moment. Light and shadow dance across the coils exactly as they did 1,000 years ago, and in that instant, time folds. The builders are here again, watching, smiling, waiting for us to notice that the sky still moves to the same rhythm, that the earth still breathes beneath our feet. Maybe that's why the Serpent Mound still draws people, not just scientists or tourists, but dreamers. Because deep down, every one of us is searching for connection, to something older, something purer, something that reminds us who we are in the vastness of the universe. The serpent's long, winding body reminds us that the path of truth is never straight. It curves, coils, doubles back, yet always moves forward. And perhaps that is its greatest lesson, that mystery is not something to be solved, but to be experienced. You've just journeyed through one of America's greatest mysteries, the Serpent Mound, where earth, energy, and cosmos intertwine. If this story moved you, imagine what else lies hidden beneath our feet, waiting to be rediscovered. Subscribe to Forgotten Civilization, where every week we uncover the lost knowledge, the hidden wisdom, and the ancient voices that shaped our world. The past is not gone. It's waiting to be heard again.